Hey guys, it's Autumn from ItsAutumnsLife, and today is finally time for episode 1 of my new video series called Conversations, where I talk to other converts to Islam about their experiences as a convert and get their perspective on living as a new Muslim in society. So, without further ado, here is episode 1 with Tanisha. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so thank you once again for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. I'm so excited. You're my first person, so I really appreciate that. So question number 1 that I had is, how did you become interested in Islam?
Ooh, where to begin? I very first started getting interested in it as far as acknowledgement, and educating myself on it was in 2010. Mm-hmm. And I saw more and more hatred about it. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was 2010 because there was a guy down in Florida that was trying to do this ban or burn Quran thing. And I seen it on the news and I bawled. Mm-hmm. I was like, why would anyone want to do this to the holy book? He's supposed to be a man of God, respect all other faiths, So, I literally sat on my sofa and I bawled. And I'm like, what is so bad about Islam? I never really understood it because I grew up with some Muslim friends. I've worn hijab when I went to, when I was invited to dinners and stuff like that. To me, I just thought it was out of respect, even though I wasn't expected to. Yeah. But I always thought that Islam was a faith for Middle Eastern. Yeah. I did not know there was, converts. I thought you were born. It was more of a cultural thing as far as you being born into it. I didn't know there was blacks, whites, Mexicans, all that. I didn't know anything about that. Yeah. Well, then I started educating myself, Google search, and YouTube, and then I was like, wow. And then some of the stuff that I was picking up, and I was like, that's me. I was like, that's how I think. That's my train of thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how it got started.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, I've talked with a lot of converts just through social media and meeting them, like in my town. We actually have, 4 or 5 that I've met just in the city I'm at, since we're a college town, so we get, a lot of people coming in and out. Mm-hmm. And it's surprising how many people, it's literally just education. They were curious, they educated themselves, and then they found out, it wasn't really, all this crazy stuff that people have been talking about. So, that's just, crazy to me, how simple, the reason how people get led to Islam. SubhanAllah. That's awesome. It's similar to me, too. I literally was just studying, and I was like, yeah, this is what I believe, too, and then I became a Muslim. All right. My next question is, what was the most difficult part of being a new Muslim?
The most difficult part, I would have to say, you would think it'd be telling your parents or talking to your family for most, but for me it wasn't at all. I think more was because the town I was living in at the time, I grew up there for the most part. I'm not from there, but I grew up there. And so I still have a lot of high school friends, and that group of people there. So it was just I didn't like going out in my hijab by myself. I literally would not. The only time I would get in the car and go somewhere by myself is if I was going to Masjid, because I would just get in the car, get out, and I'm with familiar people. But as far as go to the grocery store, I'd either wrap my hair, wrap a turban style, or my son would go with me. So I was just I don't know. I just had this thing about going out in public because, I got enough stares as it is, which didn't bother me, but I was just so terrified that somebody was going to do something to me. And it's kind of crazy because where I lived, it was a military town. I got more respect and treated better by the soldiers and their families than I did the civilians.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's weird because you would think the soldiers would have more anger towards Islam because of what they do, you know, and all that other stuff over the civilians. But it was actually the other way around.
Yeah. I've met quite a few people in the military who are very respectful and nice people. Yeah. That's really interesting. I think I can relate in some ways. Like, I wear hijab. I was wearing it all the time back then, and I did now, but I do feel uncomfortable sometimes, like if I wear an abaya, like I will feel a little bit uncomfortable going out because, I don't know, it's just very different, so people look at you kind of weird, and, you know, they might say something, or, you know, you have that fear in you that something might happen, but, you know, if I'm wearing more Western-style clothing, which usually I do, just because that's my personal style, but, you know, sometimes, like, you're lazy, maybe you want to, like, throw on a abaya real quick and, like, roll to the grocery store. Like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And even my husband will, you know, doesn't feel comfortable with me wearing that kind of clothing and going out by myself. Like, if I'm with him, maybe he's okay, but not by myself. So, I totally can understand, like, how that can be difficult, especially if you don't have a huge community there.
Right.
Because you just feel so different, and even if people don't mean to, like, stare out of something bad, they're just like, whoa, what is that? It still feels weird and uncomfortable. Yeah. So I totally understand that. So thinking back to when you first converted, is there anything that you wish you knew back then that you know now?
Honestly, I would have to say the family thing, go back to the family as far as, how do I say it? Like, for example, like on holidays and stuff. I come from, you know, my whole family on my mom's side is all different faiths. You know, there's Mormons, there's Catholics, there's just, you know, your Southern Baptist Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, we've got it all. So me becoming Muslim is just like, oh, okay, do what makes you happy. Yeah. You know, but don't do it just to do it. You know, make sure you follow through, you know, and, you know, and you stick with it, which I have, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
But I was under the impression that, and yes, I've been told this, that once you convert to Islam, your whole life before you is no longer valid, which means pretty much my history is gone, my family's gone, I'm supposed to limit my association with them. And I was literally told all this stuff at the time, so it did kind of deter me. You know, a little bit, but then that's when I started learning more and more, and then I started thinking, I was like, this is between me and, you know, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not between anyone else. My family's very respectful. Like, I don't get Christmas presents. I get, you know, my mom will hand them to me, and she's like, here, these are New Year's, you know, something to surprise you, to bring in the New Year's type gifts. You know what I mean? And because out of respect, that's still my mom. I'm going to accept them. Yeah. You know, so, but I've been told quite a few things, and then I found out that after, you know, doing my own education on it, that it wasn't done.
I think that's, like, sometimes pretty common too, because, you know, converts feel a connection to the religion, but then once you start getting people involved, there's just so many different cultures and mindsets. There's a lot of conflicting information that can be given. It's not necessarily like something that's from Islam. It's just something that they believe or they think. So I think that, like you said, it can be like a deterrent because it doesn't really mesh with what you're thinking, and, you know, alhamdulillah, it's not true. You don't have to, you know, get rid of your family and, like, totally ice them out because you became a Muslim. Like, to the contrary, family is so important in Islam. So, I think I have a feeling in the future interviews we might be hearing some similar things with, you know, those kind of things that people deal with. So how long have you actually been a Muslim now?
Since 2012. May. So about 5 years.
5 years, wow.
A little over 5 years.
That's great. That's awesome.
I thought I had to take my shahada at a masjid, and so actually I would have done it sooner.
Yeah.
Our masjid, it was, I walked in and it was just a small room at the time, and it was all men in there. There's like no women, and I felt so awkward and uncomfortable, so I left.
Yeah.
But what it is our community is so small that the women usually just never went.
Yeah.
And eventually they built a new one, a bigger facility, and there was only like 6 of us women and like maybe 15 men. So it's still a small community, but at least the women were still able to go. There was more room for them.
That's very small.
But I ended up looking online, and I was like, how do you convert to Islam? You know, and all of the posts that I seen just stated, you just take the shahada, and all that stuff. So I got on YouTube, and I believe it was Dawah Addict on YouTube. He did it, and he explained it and stuff. And so I just sat there and I repeated what he said, and I don't know, I just started crying. I just started bawling, and then I started cheesing, and then I got goosebumps. And it's almost like I felt different, but I was so happy. I was so happy.
Yeah. Well, when you become a Muslim, like all your previous anything is, erased, so you start on a clean slate, not like family-wise, but like sin-wise and things like that. So I think the feeling is like, really indescribable when you take that step for yourself. And that's awesome you went online and did it, like, take an initiative. Like, I can imagine if you are in small town where there's not a huge community, like you said, like, you just don't know what to do, and conflicting information. Like, for me personally, I did my shahada with my friend's father, and then my friend and my mom as witnesses, so like it wasn't in a masjid or anything.
And back in May of this year, I ended up redoing it, but that was so I can get a certification, and I got a bunch of them that were signed and everything, because they said nowadays you'll need it just to be safe, so that way for example, if I go get my driver's license, I'm not wearing hijab just to wear it. If needed, because some places apparently they require validation, so at least I have that, but generally though it was 2012, May 26th, actually 2012.
Nice. Yeah, I had to redo mine too when I got married, because they needed like proof that I was Muslim. So yeah, it's crazy. But in your heart, Yes. I remember when I was doing it, I had already been Muslim for several years now. They were asking me all these questions, like, and I was just like, I've been Muslim for years. Like, this is not new to me. Like, they were treating me like a baby Muslim who didn't know anything, and it was just funny. It was real funny. So, what sorts of struggles do you deal with, and how do you cope with them?
My struggles is getting out in the community. Since I moved from Oklahoma to Washington State, and the community is much, much bigger here. But I want to get out, I want to meet, I want to get involved, but at the same time, I'm very shy, I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I'm like I'll make plans to do something, and sometimes I'm at the, last minute, I'm like, I can't do it. I don't know. That's just how I am. That's how I've always been. And I try to get out of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at communicating sometimes, That's why I was kind of glad you sent me a thing. So I kind of prepared myself a little bit.
Yeah.
But just to get out there into the community.
Yeah.
That is a struggle, and I get emails. I've tried to join groups, but sometimes those groups aren't always end up being positive, and so it's not my cup of tea. So I leave them, like on Facebook and stuff like that. I get emails from our local community about things that's going on within the Islamic community and stuff like that. But also a down part is that I don't have a car, so I have to, a lot of this events and little things like that I can't partake in.
Yeah.
Because of transportation, and we only have the one vehicle for right now, so I have to either walk or, I ride the bus. So that kind of plays a down part, or when I started going to the Masjid here, I've gone a couple times when I was able to, and on Fridays, and a couple times some of the sisters are like, hey, give me a call, and I'm like, okay, but then they walk off and then they don't give me their numbers, and then the next week I see them, they're like, oh, you didn't call me, and I gotta get your number, and I'm like, okay, and they're like, I'll be right back, and then I don't see them again, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't, it's not a big deal to me, but if someone asks my number, I'll be glad to give it, to communicate and stuff like that, but at the same time, to me, I'm just like.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that as well. I mean, for our masjid here, it's not very organized because we're in a college town, so we have a lot of people like going and coming. So most of the activities are just either not really something I'm interested in. Like there's a lot of play date activities, which is like I don't have kids yet, so I'm not really into that. So it can be, hard to meet people because you feel like, they're not really related to you. Like for me, like, I don't really have anything in common with people who have kids and they want to have play dates, like that's not really something I'm into. And then even like halakas, they might have halakas, but they're not necessarily like convert friendly because they do them all in Arabic. And a lot of converts don't know Arabic, so it's just that kind of stuff can be discouraging for me personally. Just like you want to do those kind of things, but it's just not the best environment for a convert. Yeah,
that's like my past, life. There was clubs and alcohol and I wasn't never really a drinker. Like maybe once every 2-3 months or something, I might have a little something, but that's just how I was at the time. But I used to go out dancing a lot, the music and the clothes, all that stuff, and then now it's like you said, the play dates and stuff, and I'm like, my child's 20 years old. He's in college, so it's I don't really have nothing in common, or people want to get together and collaborate on like videos and like little things like that, but it all involves like arts and crafts for Eid and and Ramadan, but it's for small kids. And I'm like, I know ideas because I used to be a preschool teacher, but I don't have any small kids. So
it's just not
participate with me.
I think a lot for the women's activities, it's pretty common to just be like child-centered, especially if they're smaller mosques. They just don't have a lot of activities. Our mosque is starting to do better, but like I said, I relate to what you're saying because it's just like people are in their own lives and they say they want to do something, but then they're, you just don't hear from them again, or they're just too busy with their kids and with their whatever they're doing. So it can be hard to forge relationships, and I think it gets harder as you get older. Like when you're young, like, you don't have a lot going on, so you can easily just, hang out and, just meet new people and not feel like awkward or weird about it. But when you're older, like you get busy with like kids and life, and it's harder to get together. So I think converts who are older, especially who are unmarried without kids, have a pretty hard time really finding friends and doing things with other people. It can be pretty isolating. Yeah. So have you tried to, improve that situation within the community, or have you done things?
I'm actually this coming Friday, or the next coming Friday, I do plan on going to the Masjid, and I was gonna go last Friday, but I wasn't able to, or yesterday, last Friday, I forgot what day it was, But I do plan on going, and I'm gonna try to make it an arrangement to go regularly on Fridays. And then on the first Friday of the month, they do a open house here, and that's when they have people from everywhere. You know, they're welcome to come, watch us pray. You know, and then afterwards they go down into the community room, or like where everyone gets together and they have snacks and stuff and they talk about things. Because that was the first time I went to the Masjid here. It was on first Friday. They had an open house and stuff. And if you want to participate in prayer, you can. If not, just move to the back. And I stood there and they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, I've been, Muslim for a while now. I just wanted to come. And to me, the open house was more like a stepping stone to get into there, so that's why I went on the first Friday, because we haven't been living here very long. Like I said, we just moved from Oklahoma. So, but yeah, so I do plan on going. I do plan on, doing my best to interact as best as I can with some of the sisters.
That's
there's
awesome.
A big community here. I mean, there's like so many. There's at least 50 sisters that go. So
Inshallah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome they do that like every month for the open house, because here it's just more like on appointment, I guess. Like if someone emails the masjid or calls and they want to learn about Islam, they'll set up like a little thing on Fridays. But that's cool that they do it weekly. Like anyone can just drop in. Like that's really convenient. So
yeah,
I should tell them they should do that. That would be really fun, because it can be intimidating, I think, to just like go in the masjid at times, because you don't know what's expected of you, and it's just such a different culture than if you're going to like a church or a synagogue. Like, there are some rules, like you should take your shoes off, and some masjids may be more stricter on like dress code, things like that. So it can be intimidating, I think, especially for a woman.
Yeah.
Especially for a woman. And there's like separate entrances sometimes for women and men. So there's just like a lot of things that can be, could make someone nervous. Like, they don't want to do anything wrong. They're scared of offending someone. So are there any misconceptions you faced as a convert to Islam?
I've had a lot of people think that I converted because I got married. I'm pretty sure.
I think that's a misconception for a lot of people. Might be number one.
I was told, oh, so then where are you from? And I'm like, California.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, where are you from? And I'm like, my mom's leftover. I was like, I don't know, I just kind of try to throw in some humor and stuff in there.
Yeah.
But they just look at me and they're like, but you're Muslim. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, but you're black.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
It's crazy because I think
I kind of understand where they're coming from a little bit, but at the same time, I personally wouldn't ask anybody those kinds of questions,
Yeah.
But like I said, when I first started getting into it, I thought it was a Middle Eastern thing only, and
which is crazy, because I'm pretty sure that African Americans are the highest number of Muslims in the United States, at least.
Yeah, that's what, from my understanding, is too.
Yeah. And, but I think from the media, people just only see Islam associated with Middle East. So they just assume that it's only Middle Eastern people who are practicing Muslims.
Yeah, but it's just, did I convert because I'm, was a man involved? And then, they're like, they think that I'm from a Middle Eastern country.
Yeah.
Or I'm forced to wear the hijab. And I was like, no. I was like, I've been covering my hair pretty much since I was a little girl. Not necessarily in this form.
Yeah.
But I always wore like little scarves, with my little hair sticking out, like, my at the back, or a bandana or something, and I've always was about the long sleeves. for the most part of my life, I wasn't big on shorts, and even capris kind of made me uncomfortable. That's just how it was growing up. My mom would try to dress me all kinds of way, and I'm just like, I don't like it. So dressing modestly, and covering, that wasn't an issue. That was just like, okay, the hijab was just one extra piece to my everyday attire. So I always get asked a lot, about what country I'm from, and and stuff like that, because that's
I can definitely relate to that. I've had a lot of experiences where I'm just like, what, really? And I think the media definitely plays a part in that, and just like visibility, because I've even had people who've known me for ages, like they should know that it's not the case what they're thinking, but they still might say like, oh, because of that, right? And I'm just like, what? You've known me for like 15 years. Like, why would you, like, But people just accept, these stereotypes to be true, I guess. So it can be like, I don't know. It can be, for me personally, sometimes I feel kind of weird because I'm like, my identity isn't, like, for the people who I relate with, I'm no longer being, like, included in that group. So it can be really weird. For example, like, if I go to a small town, I'm white, so, my whole family's white, so obviously, like, white people are just like, I don't know, white people, like, it's not something weird to me, But people are looking at me crazy when we're in these small towns, like, what is she doing here? But in my mind, I'm still just like, I'm just a white person, like, we're all white people here. So it's just like, it's just so weird to be, like, feeling like people are saying I'm so different when I'm really not. If I wasn't wearing a scarf on my head, no one would know I'm a Muslim. So it's just crazy how just wearing something on your head automatically, like, puts you in the other category. Yeah. It can be, I think, disheartening at times because you just don't expect it, because you're just, it's something you relate with, like your community and stuff, but when you're being, told, like, or treated weirdly, it's just kind of like, what? It just kind of, like, throws you off, like, what? Like, what is happening? Yeah. So, do you have advice for anyone who is maybe thinking about converting or looking into Islam right now?
Go with your heart and educate yourself. Stay off the TV. Yeah. That would be my number one thing. Stay off the TV. Yeah. Educate yourself. Educate. There's plenty of very, very good websites. There's New Muslim Academy. That's very good. What is it? I think it's findislam.org, I believe. Okay. But just do your research. And be specific in what you're searching for, so that way the proper things will come up. And because at first I was just typing in stuff, and then it was like all this negative things, and I was like, oh wait, that's not right. That doesn't seem right. So I did further research and stuff. But I don't have cable, so I use like Netflix if I feel like watching a movie or something like that. But, and it's been like that for at least about almost 10 years now. So I don't really know what's going on in the world unless I'm on Facebook and the news feed pops up, or some random search. But generally, though, just go with your heart. Educate. And just don't if someone tries to say, oh well, this because this is how it is, and they'll try to point off a snippet of the Quran. But I've seen that done, and I've opened up the Quran, and then all of a sudden I'm like, but they didn't finish reading it. They only, you can't pick and choose what part you want to bash. There's a whole segment there of positivity, but that one little phrase is what you're going to try to throw in my face about how bad Islam is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of websites out there that look like they're, supporting Islam, but they're actually not. So I remember when I first started doing my research, I bumped into a few of those. And like you said, it's important. Like, if you see something that doesn't seem like right, don't take it as face value. Like, research it. As with anything, put that into another search and see what other websites are saying about it, and then you'll come to the right conclusion. And of course, like, going back to the Quran itself is really important. Finding, good sources is it's really important, and not necessarily like taking what people say to you too at face value.
There's plenty of websites where you can get free literature.
Yeah.
So I've got so many books over on my shelf that some of them may be, like me being in the States, a lot of them came from like India or other countries, but I still got them and they were free, and some of them I kept, some of them I passed down, given away so that way others can read them. I've sent some to my mom because my mom's always has questions, about Islam and stuff, and she's like, well, on the news this and this, and then I'll explain it to her, and she's like, okay. She goes, yeah, that makes more sense. She goes, my mom doesn't necessarily go off of the news, but she might hear something, and so she'll ask me about it, and if I can properly answer her, then I'll be glad to, or guide her in direction for the correct answer.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, you can Google those free websites where you can get free Islamic literature. There's a lot of them out there. And I think even if you live in a community where you have a pretty sizable Muslim population, you can probably just go to a masjid and ask them to give you a Quran. And I think most of the time they'll give you one if they have the ability. So that's always an option too, yeah. That was good advice. I like that. All right, so my final question is, how can Muslims support converts?
Be understanding, be patient, with my experience personally, that now that I'm Muslim, that I should know how to do all this stuff. And I don't. I'm 5 years in and I'm still learning things, I take criticism very well, but it's not what you say to me, it's how you say it. That's my favorite motto to anything. It's not what you say to me, it's how you say it. It's your tone, and I've been chewed on so many times and nitpicked so many times, and that was just online, so and that's what I don't get, it's like if I go and ask a question, then well, you need to do this and this, and you should do that, and I'm just telling you because I know, I've been and some of it's from converts, so it's like I've been doing this since I've been a convert for 10 years, so I know, and I get stuff like that, and and then other converts or Muslims are getting in on the conversation, and I'm like, it was just a question, like, yes or no, or is there a link, or because I'm not finding it, but just be patient with us, because we are still learning. If we have the questions, just and if you can answer, just answer it, if you can't, can you guide us? Don't assume that just because we wear the hijab that we're automatically knowledgeable of everything, because we're not, I just think patience is very important.
Yeah, I agree. I think not even with converts, just Muslims with born Muslims too, sometimes manners can be a big issue. Even, like you said, even online, like, sometimes I get some crazy comments too on my social media where people are just so, like, bluntly rude about how they advise you, which, that's a turnoff. And it's not, the Islamic way of doing things either. And even, a lot of people just roast each other online too, like in public, which that is not the proper way to do things. It can be pretty discouraging, I heard a story once from another convert, and she told me she had got all her courage up to go to the Masjid. It was her first time. She, put on a hijab the best she could. She went there to pray, and her prayers weren't perfect. She was new, and an old lady came over and just roasted her. Said she was, not praying correctly. She needed to do this, and just the way that she said it, she just burst into tears because she had been doing her very best, and she would have loved the advice, but she didn't like her tone, and she didn't like that she had done it in a room full of other people, it just doesn't feel good to, get that reaction from people when it's not like you're doing it on purpose. Like, you want to be the best in your Islam as you can be, but yeah, manners is definitely something that I think the whole community has issues with for sure, and it can be especially discouraging for converts who may not know, or converts are a little fragile, especially in the beginning. At least I felt that way, because you just want to do everything perfectly. You have this newfound, excitement for Islam, and you're just like, you're just real excited. When you're excited, you just do things, you're just trying everything, and you're not feeling like nervous about it or anything. You're just trying to go for it. But when people put you down, you start to
makes you second guess everything.
Yeah, you're just like,
your decision.
Well. Yeah, it's just really, it can be hard. So I think that's a really good point you bring up, and I hope people think about that when they're dealing with converts, because they're doing, I think most converts I've ever met, they're really trying their best. And they would love advice. Like, if someone gives me advice, even if I don't maybe agree with it, I still hear them out, because it's beneficial. It's beneficial for me to hear other views, and I can make my own decision based on that. But I don't think anyone reacts well when people are hostile. It just makes you want to shut down. Even if it's beneficial, maybe they're saying something beneficial to me, but if they're coming at you in like a hostile way, you just want to shut down from the beginning and be like, no, you're hostile, and that makes me want to go exactly against what you want from me. So
that's how I get sometimes, or I was sometimes on. And what's sad is that's how I was with social media. I let social media as complete strangers get the best of me. Yeah. And there's times where I've been put down and just ranked over the coals so bad, and despite it's the internet, I still have feelings, and it just hurts, and
it does.
And I take it to heart, and there's times where I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. No more hijab for me, but I'm still Muslim at heart, and stuff. But then I'm like, and I've actually, I take it off, and stuff like that. But then it got to a point where I'm like, screw them, excuse me. But I'm like, screw them. I was like, why? I don't even know these people. They're just computer hackers, keyboard chompers. And but at the time when you're reading something, I'm just like, I'm just kind of taken back that people can be so harsh, especially to complete strangers, people they don't even know. But now I'm just like, whatever, when I gotta go to the store, whatever, I wrap up and I go by myself, no problem. I don't know, I just feel more comfortable here, and I think it might be because it's almost like a clean slate now that I've moved and nobody knows me. I'm not gonna run into nobody, so I don't know if that's what it is, but
Yeah, I've had some crazy comments on my Instagram a few times, and it's, I don't know, just because it was coming from Muslims, I felt really weird about it. Like, we're all Muslim, like, this is not the way to do something like that, but, it's, you just have to take it with a grain of salt, and you're doing right by you and what you're supposed to be doing in religion, so you can't really let that bother you, because my gosh, if we followed what everyone wanted us to do, we would never be able to do anything. And in the end, it has to be from us, because even I struggled with a lot of things. Like, I struggled with hijab for a while. It was hard for me, and just the opinions of people, and going into the workforce and worrying about things like that. But in the end of the day, like I said, you got to live with yourself. And those people, literally, who are they? Someone sent you a hate comment online. You're never probably ever going to meet them in your whole life. And even if you did, like, who cares? Like, they're just like some rando. Like, they're not going to affect your life. They're going to keep going on whatever they're doing, and you're going to still live with yourself. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be discouraging, like, to put yourself out there. And I think, that kind of ties in with the Muslims advising converts too. Like, you put yourself out there and you just get all this negativity back when you're not, like, trying to be negative. It can be really hard. And it's not a Muslim problem. Like, if you look on comments all over YouTube and everything, there's some crazy, like, stuff that makes me, like, question humanity.
Yes.
Yeah, don't read the comments. But I think you brought up a really good point about that. Well, that is all my questions. I'm really so happy you came and talked to me about this. I'm excited to put this first episode up. Is there anything else you want to say, or you can tell people where to find you if they want to connect with you?
Just stay true to you. If you want to convert, educate. Like I said before, educate yourself. If you have any personal questions, like for me or something, they can reach me pretty much everywhere at tanishalynne. That's just one word. So. All
right.
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube. Just type in tanishalynne, Snapchat, or not Snapchat, like Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, so.
Okay, awesome. And I'll put all the links to where to find her down there.
In the description.
Yeah, in the description box below, so you can click on it and go find her everywhere. And seriously, thank you so much for participating.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. You're the initiation for this. Inshallah.
I'm glad to do it.
Yeah, inshallah, more people will see it and want to participate and feel, more comfortable, like, being a part of this project. So I'm excited. That's it. We're done. All right. I seriously, I'm so happy you participated. I really appreciate it. I don't know how to say it enough to make it sincere, but I do.
Yeah, whenever I hear someone wants to do something, or they're working on a project, regardless if it has to do with, converts or not, I'm like, well, what can I do to help? You never know. And when you were explaining it to me, I was like, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down, because I think more converts should speak up on their experience and stuff, because that way let others know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And because some people are like, oh, well, I'm doing this by myself, and I don't, the community and this and this. But we're all out there.
Yeah, we are. There's lots of us.
Nobody says anything.
Yeah. We're like a weird, like, middle ground, I think, among Muslims. So I think it can be hard to kind of find a niche in there where you belong. So I'm hoping a lot of converts will see these videos and, find each other through that way and kind of network and have more support systems, because I know for me personally, like, when I talk to people who are dealing with the same kind of issues, it just helps. It makes you feel better, makes you feel not so as alone, and then they might have some insight that would help you, deal with that.
Yeah.
I've definitely gotten some great advice from other converts who are in similar situations as me, or they've maybe been converted longer than me, or even, new converts. They've, like, brought issues to my attention even that I hadn't even thought about. And I think by doing this, we can bring about some kind of change, hopefully. And I'm hoping to get, more people involved, inshallah, hopefully. We'll see. Let's see where this goes. All right, I'll let you go now. I've already taken up a ton of your time.
Oh, you're fine.
And I'll let you know, inshallah, when I upload it.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
All right, I hope you guys liked the first episode with Tanisha. You can find her social media accounts if you want to connect with her down in the description box below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll be posting some more videos in the future. So yeah, leave me a comment, let me know you're here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.